best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Ask the Treksperts, the show where we answer your questions about Star Trek. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam.
And today, Adam, I'm Adam. Adam, are you a robot?
Yeah.
This is an android we built of Adam. This is a Soon-type android that we built of Adam.
You don't have the emotion chip.
You don't have the emotion chip? There, now you have
I was
it.
less perfect than
Now you have your...
I
am not less perfect than Lore.
I'm not less perfect than Lore.
Anyway, so today, is that who we're talking about today?
No.
We're talking about Lore. Today, that'd be a good one. That would be a good one. Anyway, today we're going to do another character spotlight, and Sarah and I have no idea what character we'll be discussing, so we're being put completely on the spot, and we're going to make this as interesting as possible and see how much we know about and what we want to say about whatever character Adam picks. So Adam has chosen a character. He knows who we're talking about, and he looks so confident in his choice. Just look at him.
Yeah.
Adam, who are we going to talk about today, sir?
I think we're going to talk about Michael Eddington.
Michael Eddington! Oh, boy!
Also known as, according to Avery Brooks, Michael Eddington.
Oh, man. Okay, so let me just start right off by saying I'm going to be really rusty on this one. Because Sarah and I have not been through DS9 in a good long time. And we have been meaning to, and I know that is technically like right before or right during like the very, very beginning of the Dominion War.
Yeah.
But we've gotten a lot of requests to do a full-blown Dominion War discussion, and we've never done it in the 6 years we've been doing this, because we haven't had a chance to sit down and go back through it again, and we didn't want to be all rusty and it having been a long time before we talked about it. Now we're doing that with Michael Eddington, so yay. So Michael Eddington, you've got the For the Uniform, For the Cause. That whole thing, which was across 2 seasons, right? It was like,
yeah, I think it lasted all the way through the Dominion War, because the last thing, it was like, hadn't the Jem'Hadar come and I don't know, the Klingons wiped out the Maquis, right? Yeah. That's what it was. Well, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, me too. That was a good pick.
Yeah, I don't remember now. Okay.
No, it's all right, no problem. But of course, he was a character that was there for a long time, and they built up to make you think was some kind of a mole or something, and then he was a red herring. And then he ended up being Maquis anyway later on, and he ended up sort of being played as like Sisko's intellectual equal and his big kind of arch nemesis. I always liked Eddington. I always thought he was a really interesting kind of foil for Sisko. Yeah. But why did you pick him?
I don't know, because we never talk about Michael Eddington. I don't think in our discussions I've ever heard him mentioned.
It's funny you say that, because he has definitely come up before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he's come up since you joined our club. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I just I always thought he was an interesting character too. Just the way he interacted with Sisko and stuff, and the way he was able to get under Sisko's skin so much. I always thought was interesting. Just the way. I guess Sisko took it really personally. That's all I can say about that. Yeah.
Sisko takes a lot of it personally. So, I mean, he is the only one who punched Q in the face.
And he punched Garrick in the face that time.
He does a lot of punching. Oh, yeah. Pale Moonlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was awesome in a way that punching Q was
awesome.
Well, they were gearing up for making Sisko cooler later. We built into the Sisko's really physical thing really early on, but then we started really doing stuff with it when we started playing with his psychology and his temper and. He was Sisko definitely ended up being the right guy for a giant war arc.
Yeah. Oh, certainly, of all the captains, I think he was the most interesting to see in a wartime setting. Although it would be kind of cool to just take each of them and say, okay, we're gonna do this little mini 5-episode arc where you're each in a war. How would you handle it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be kind of interesting to see.
Or just take Sisko and put him in Enterprise and see if the Xindi War is a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
As much as I like that season for Enterprise. But anyway, so Michael Eddington.
Yeah, back to Michael Eddington.
He was one of those characters early on when he came in where they kept trying to kind of shove him in places.
Right. But like, where are we going with this guy? And if you'll remember, they had like another security guy that was there for like 2 episodes.
Yeah,
too.
I do.
So
I do vaguely recall that.
So it's like it's just that, you know, another attempt at the same character, or what's going on here, and then it wound up going in a complete, you know, different direction and stuff.
Well, the idea was, I mean, they did the opposite in DS9 than they did in TNG, which is create as much character friction as humanly possible. And so the idea with Eddington was inevitably Starfleet's going to want more of a military presence on that station.
Right.
And what would it be like if Odo had to deal with more Starfleet oversight than he already had? Of course, he already hated that.
Right.
And then what would it be like if he got stuck with more of it, and if he had to work side by side with a
human
with a human,
or
a Starfleet officer of any kind, right? And so that's kind of what he was. I always thought he had a lot of presence, and I always thought he had a decent amount of what am I trying to say? That actor had some range where when we
some gravitas.
Yeah, sure. Because when we first saw him, I mean, I'm suspicious of anybody with eyebrows like that guy.
Yeah, he did.
Just immediately, I'm like, he's gonna be a bad guy. Yeah. And they sufficient, and also something about that receding hairline too.
Yeah,
just immediately makes you go like that guy. But then as it went along, it's trying to make you think that maybe you're judging someone too much by their appearance, and you can't judge a book by his cover.
Except on TV.
Yeah. And then they totally fake us out.
Right. Exactly.
And I always thought they did a really good job with it. Also, the psychology, once we get into him as a villain, is really interesting because, of course, they make him the sort of villain that thinks he's the hero of the story.
Right. And it really made Cisco do some really crazy stuff, like the whole poisoning the planet atmosphere.
I could never decide how I felt about that.
I was like, what the hell did you just do?
I never bought that. I always thought that at the end of that episode we were going to find that he didn't go that far.
Right.
He kind of was going to go that far. I mean, like,
he never got in trouble for it either.
Well, I forget. Like, was his bluff called? Like, he almost did that, and then his bluff was called.
No, he did it, and then, but the poison he used was poisonous to Cardassians, and the poison Eddington, or wasn't that it? And the poison I can't remember now. The poison that Eddington used was poisonous to the Cardassians.
It's been a
and the
while.
poison that he used was poisonous to humans. So they swapped planets.
Oh, that's right.
That's what it was.
Wow.
Yeah. Which surprised me that they just agreed to do that.
Did that character leave much of an impression on you?
It actually did not.
Really?
When he first appeared, he kind of seemed like a nobody to me. And I never really... He was always just kind of background, second string, take no notice of this guy. I mean, he was in the stories and whatever, but I just... He seemed like such a throwaway character for me that I never gave him much thought. And so when he went to the Maquis, it was kind of a twist for me, because I didn't really see him having very much of a role in anything.
Right. See, I don't agree with that. I mean, I thought that at first. I mean, when we first saw him, because we had plenty of Starfleet officers that came on board for a couple of minutes, and especially Bajorans.
Right.
There was a lot of that. But they started doing. Interesting things with him. Interesting in just giving his security role, some weight and doing things with it. Because I'm suddenly remembering what the whole red herring thing was, where it was they thought that he had turned against them, and then he had orders from Starfleet that they didn't know about.
Yes.
And that whole thing was really interesting. And he was also, and I can't remember if this is the same episode, but he was involved in finding that changeling that was hiding all over the Defiant.
Yeah, he was.
You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. And that was always really cool. So he wasn't one of those recurring characters like Garrick or Rom later on, or any of those guys, where any of the Wayuns, where every time he came on screen I was like, oh cool, I can't wait to find out more about this character, or they're going to keep developing him. He didn't really have an arc that we were aware of until he went to the Maquis. But the thing I always wondered was how planned that was from the beginning.
Right.
Because I had a really hard time buying that as much as I thought he was going to go dark or he was a mole for somebody when he first came in. I mean, like, think about it. If we had kept him around longer, he would have been perfect for Section 31. I just thought of that. Like, what if he'd been there the whole time and it turned out that he was working for Section 31 the whole time? It would have, but the problem, of course, is that we didn't invent Section 31 until season 6.
Right.
Yeah, and that would have meant he would have stayed around longer.
Yeah.
And I just was kind of waiting for him to leave, really.
Really?
I never
okay.
really cared much for him, just as part of the show.
Well, I was neutral on it, and I think you were supposed to be. I don't think you were supposed to really have an opinion about it necessarily.
Well, like all those other recurring characters that you mentioned, I was always excited anytime we got a Garricus episode especially, or Ram, or any of these other characters when they'd come in and have an episode. It was great.
I just think it was a fabulous fake out, really.
Yeah.
But this guy, it's like if he was on screen for very much of the episode, it wasn't exciting. I wasn't trying.
Right, you didn't know anything about him.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like they were trying to, you didn't feel like you wanted to know anything more about it. Like,
this guy's
he was just
boring.
there to drive the story forward.
Yeah.
Like in that Defiant episode, he was just there to help find the Changeling, basically, and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he definitely had kind of a provocative look about him.
He did.
Where he was just really unusual, and you were just waiting for something to happen with that guy, and then it did. They followed through with it, which is super cool. But you remember, Adam, when you get to and I always forget if it's for the cause or for the uniform, but when you get to his and Cisco's big tete-a-tete across ships, and it was the one and only time they used the holographic view screen.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
And they just made a really big deal out of it.
And never did it again.
And what was really dumb was that Eddington had one too.
Oh, that's right. So they could face each other.
Yeah, so they could face each other. And they had this whole face-off thing. And
swerve around backwards. They got to turn around from the rest of the bridge.
It was really silly. I mean, like if they had continued using it.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know. There was something weirdly kind of dopey about it. I mean, like I guess in a way it's kind of a progression because it feels like the person is there in the room with you and stuff. But then I'm not really sure what the point is of that, other than A, the novelty of it if you're there, and B, for the audience, just sort of the fun of thinking that person is actually in the room with them.
Right.
And usually when they're on a view screen, they're talking to a blank screen.
Right. And they had to take a table out on the bridge to put that thing in too.
That's
the back. But I think they used something like it one other time when they. Do you remember in Dr. Bashir, I presume?
Yeah.
When he was talking to the Admiral.
You're right.
And but that was in Cisco's office. That wasn't on.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But see, we can't pretend like it's futuristic anymore at that point. It's like, why don't we have these everywhere? Like, are you
why
guys
do you
just,
maybe they decided.
Are you guys just testing things? I don't feel like in the middle of a war on the Defiant or DS9, that's the place where Starfleet would randomly be testing things.
Maybe it's like, this is like Google Glass. It's too awkward. We don't like it.
Why would it be there? Maybe the flagship. Maybe the Enterprise where a thing like that should be used, where you have a lot of civilians, riding around with you, and they can test random crap.
Right.
Wouldn't you test this?
Beta testers.
Wouldn't you just beta test stuff in a holodeck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just go on the bridge. Yeah. And then I don't know why we're talking about this. This has nothing to do with Michael Eddington. It's not my fault you brought up a guy I don't have that much to say about. What is your... And Sarah and I have done, I want to say, an episode of the Maquis, although we've been doing this for so long now that I don't remember every episode we've done. What has your stance always been on the Maquis in general? Because I feel like your interest or lack of interest in that character, especially, or at least by the time you find out that he's become kind of the face of the Maquis, or one of the big faces of the Maquis, your interest in that character is somewhat going to be contingent on how you whether or not you even care about the Maquis. And a lot of people were just sort of like, who cares? And I always thought they were really interesting, but could have been a lot more interesting.
I mean, I thought that I I thought the Maquis were interesting, and the speech Eddington, he gave about how Starfleet's worse than the Borg and all that stuff. I never really bought that because I'm like, this isn't some BS treaty negotiation where you get some it was like they were doing it because they didn't want to cause another really long war where a bunch of people died, and I mean.
Bureaucracy and stuff,
right.
sure, and not paying attention to little colonies. And,
right. I mean, I can understand that. Yeah, they weren't. They didn't ask their take their needs into consideration enough. I can understand that criticism.
And there's definitely a lot of that in Star Trek.
Right.
Where you have, and it was nice that TNG dealt with this even in a lot of places, even outside of DS9, where we would kind of deal with the bureaucracy of Starfleet
right.
and things that work theoretically behind a desk in a way they don't work as well in the field, and
right.
that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what the Maquis was all about. Humanitarians, or at least that's what they thought they were.
Right. But as far as like an adversary. I don't know. I feel like they just created them because they're trying to come up with some people for,
Cisco to punch in the face?
Well, an antagonist for Voyager because they really introduced them
as the Maquis, for the Maquis.
Yeah, when they were planning Voyager, I think they were in the process of planning. That's when they came up with the Maquis.
Well, we've done a whole show on how Voyager would have been likely a lot more of an effective story if they had gone full tilt with the Maquis thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the Maquis in general, but I think that if Voyager had been more of a Starfleet versus Maquis show, it would have just been a whole lot more interesting.
Not even versus, or at least at the beginning.
At the beginning,
that
absolutely.
Yeah,
and then
but
figuring
out how to integrate those
Instead
crews and develop a philosophy together, as opposed to the Starfleet philosophy kind of automatically takes over them in the Maquis, just take a back seat.
Yeah, I mean, it's like episode 1, I don't want to work with that guy. Episode 2,
guess I'm working with that guy.
Yeah, I guess we're good.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of just deferred real quick.
Right.
And what was really irritating, I'm sure I've said this before, what was really irritating was then, later on, it was almost like that show was like really regretful of the fact that they did that. So they would do these, they did like several, or at least 2 or 3 like token episodes where you'd sort of see what that might have been like had they really done it, and then they would just contrive some kind of plot device to play it out.
Yeah, worst case scenario.
But worst case scenario is great, and that's what's so annoying. That's a really good episode, but part of the reason
that one should have been Voyager.
Well, then there was that one with...
At least for the first season.
That one with the Bajoran that said that message, and then that guy was dead in the movie theater that Tom created. And
the thing is,
I don't remember what that was about, but I just remember that there was a big thing where they wound up wearing the old clothes and stuff.
Was that the episode with the 3D glasses?
Yes.
Oh my god, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Season 7. Yeah. Yeah, you think TNG Season 7 is not that good. Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Brian Fuller producing and show running Star Trek, and that guy wrote some of my favorite episodes of Voyager, but he also wrote Workforce. Yeah. And I just want to throw that out there. That's not great.
I mean,
it's not horrible.
It's not horrible. I kind of liked Workforce.
Okay.
I mean... It wasn't the best 2-parter ever, but I mean...
It's not as bad as Blood, whatever. What was that? What was that 2-parter with the...
With the holograms?
With the holograms? Or no, was it... wasn't it...
Yeah, was it the one with the holograms?
Flesh and Blood? Was that what it was called?
Was that the one with the holograms where they were the
hologram
and stuff?
Yeah, but with the ship.
With the ship, not the killing game.
Not the killing game.
Yeah, something like something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Flesh and Blood. I was mixing it up with first Blood Fever and then In the Flesh.
That was the one where the Doctor went rogue and stuff. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That one. Yeah, that one. That was the other season 7 2-parter.
Yeah. Okay, Workforce is leaps and bounds about that. Anyway, none of that is here or there.
We have to cut all this out.
no, that's all right. That's okay. It's fun. Anything else you guys want to say about Michael Eddington? I'm sure we could have a much more interesting discussion about that guy if we were to do some straight up episode reviews of stuff he was in.
Yeah.
But this is part of the experiment, is just what do you remember about random characters.
Mm-hmm.
So that was us taking a test. I feel like Sarah and I got maybe a C minus on that.
I don't know. I may have gotten lower than that. I was never.
I just remember Cisco said, one of my favorite, I don't know, it's just one of my favorite things he ever said is when he goes, "You betrayed your uniform!" to Michael. That's the only thing I really, really remember about what their interactions and stuff.
The Captain Mouse thing is cool. The way he kind of tries to victimize himself, and then Sisko turns that around. He's
comparing himself to Jean Valjean. Yes,
and that's what I was trying to remember. Yeah. Yes. I said that he was set up as kind of Sisko's arch nemesis. Obviously, Ducat is definitively his arch nemesis, but this was that in a different sort of way where it's like the friend that betrayed you and that kind of thing. Maybe if they had been like closer,
right? But that was already done with that guy. What was that guy?
Calhoun.
Is that his name? Maquis?
Yeah. No, Cal Hudson. Who is Calhoun?
That was the fake, or he's not fake. The captain from the books by Peter David.
Yeah, I know, but there's another Calhoun somewhere actually in Star Trek. In Star Trek canon, I think. But yes, you're right. Calhoun is the captain in
the New Frontier.
New Frontier. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name of that. Right. And Shelby is his first officer. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah,
I need to go back and read those at some point.
Yeah, the whole I did like how he kind of turned that whole.
Brian Fuller, I'm telling you, dude, just make that show.
Oh, the New
Brian
Frontier
Fuller,
show?
just make that show.
Yeah.
Because it is a crime that Peter David has never written for canonical Star Trek.
That's true.
Absolute crime. But anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, the Cal Hudson thing. But you're right. We already had the and with the Maquis.
Yeah. And it was better.
Although, isn't it weird that nobody ever remembers that guy or talks about him?
I know, and they mention him one time, and they're like, he's dead, or something like that.
Well, I was just gonna, like, fans never talk about him. Our club, boy, I've put that in trivia 2 or 3 times.
People don't remember him?
People never remember him, and I always have to explain to them, what episode was that in? The Maquis.
You know what? I think that might have been the very first Deep Space Nine episode I ever saw.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
2-part episode, I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here, but I like it.
Were you like me when you were really into TNG and you had to sort of slowly get into it?
No, I didn't really watch. This is weird. I came to Star Trek kind of a roundabout way. I didn't really watch TNG. I was kind of a little bit after, because I was like born when that show premiered.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I always forget how much younger you are than me.
Yeah. I watched. The first thing I saw...
actually, no, you're not that much younger than me.
I'm not that much
younger. You're saying when it premiered... Okay.
When it first premiered.
So I thought you were saying when it went off the air.
No.
I didn't think you were that much younger than me.
No.
Right,
When it went off the air, I was in first grade.
Yes.
But,
well, see, I didn't watch it all that much when it was on, because I was really little, but I watched the crap out of it in reruns.
Yes, that was how I was.
Yeah.
I saw the movies
but
first.
Like DS9 and Voyager were
You
on...
saw the movies first?
I saw the movies first.
The TOS movies?
Yeah, the TOS
cool.
movies, and then...
But I think a lot of people got into it that way.
And I started watching Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager premiered, and I started watching
that. VHS tape, like...
Yeah.
On TV all the time.
Yeah, it was on TV. It was on, that's how I saw it. It was on like the USA Network or something like
all
that.
The Rathacon, Voyage Home.
Yeah, Voyage Home. That was the first one I saw.
Voyage Home and 6, for whatever reason, seemed like it was on TV all the time.
It was on NBC, and they would always chop it up the hell out of that movie for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah.
So when you finally started watching DS9, did you like stay with it, or did you kind of
I stayed with it.
Okay.
Yeah, that, and then I got and I started watching Voyager, and I stayed with Voyager all the way too.
See, I grew up with my dad showing me TOS a lot.
Right.
After I'd watched a lot of TNG.
Uh-huh.
DS9 was kind of this weird outlying.
Yeah.
I don't even know how Star Trek that is.
Right.
And then Voyager, my dad and I got really heavily into when I was in, like, just getting into junior high, and 7 and 9 got on it. And I hadn't watched it before that.
Right.
And so I grew up thinking Voyager was a way better show than it is. And then I went back and saw the earlier stuff and watched more of it and realized that it wasn't as good as I thought it was. But I still really like a lot of things in it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It is.
Yeah, but seasons 4 and 5 are my favorites out of that show.
Oh yeah, definitively.
Definitely.
Well, I would say that 3's pretty darn good.
Yeah,
Three's
no,
good.
it is. But
And Kes finally started kind of coming in along a little bit. I mean, there's
yeah.
What is that episode where she's regressing backwards through time?
Oh god.
Is it?
No.
I can't remember the name of it. But that one's pretty cool.
Yes.
I almost had it.
I can't remember. Is it like one of the one-word titles?
Or does it have time in
Or
it?
time or 2 words. I can't remember.
I forget. Well, anyway.
Yes.
Let's not end the show on us forgetting something.
Yes. I don't.
Well, maybe that's going to happen.
No.
Anyway, well, final thoughts on Michael Eddington, Adam?
I don't know. Well, what about, we never talked about the final episode of Michael Eddington where he and Cisco kind
It's
of...
like he's in a prison.
Yeah, he is in a prison and they kind of came to an understanding, I guess, of each
Kinda,
other
sorta.
and stuff, yeah.
And there's a
And
whole thing about his family and his wife and
yes,
stuff.
his wife and all that stuff. And Cisco said he was the most loyal man I ever knew. He was a Maquis till the end.
Yeah, they hammed that stuff up a
Yeah,
little
they
bit.
did.
I mean, as much as they hammed up his hatred for him, they then hammed up how much he came to appreciate
He
him.
admired him,
It
yes.
went maybe just a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That was a resolution that I kind of appreciated.
Yeah.
Because I always thought it was a misstep that we never saw Thomas Riker again.
Yeah.
You know, he gets thrown into prison, and
Right.
then he's just gone,
He's
and
gone.
we never get back to him again. And I thought it was good that they didn't do that with Eddington.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
Really?
Yeah. Figured he was just gone.
I just always thought that it would have been... There were just too many cool things that came to my mind of things that you could have done with Thomas Riker afterwards.
Yeah.
Where, like, just because, again, his psychology was so interesting. And it would have been a lot more fun to go to Thomas Riker and do something similar to what we did with Eddington. But again, I was also kind of glad that, you know, Cisco had some sort of resolution for that. But
Yeah.
they did maybe go a little bit too far in
Yeah, they did.
the hammed up direction by the end of that.
Yeah.
But I guess with Thomas Riker is just indefiant the psychology of that. I think we've reviewed that on the show. The psychology of that character and how much he had the direction he had gone. It was really consistent with Second Chances, and how much he had changed since then, and his obsession with making something of himself and being remembered and being different from Will Riker. I just felt like there was a lot you could kind of do with that, because that was a thing where, you know, you compare that to the end of Michael Eddington, and the end of that is there's no cheese. Like you really kind of believe when he finally takes Kira's advice and gives up.
Gives up, right.
And realizes how far he's gone and that it's not about the cause.
Right, it's about him. Yeah. Differentiating himself from his clone.
From his doppelganger.
Yeah, doppelganger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, that's going to be it, I guess, for us today. Thanks a lot for watching. And next time, we will, unless we do, unless something comes out that we need to review, we will probably, because I don't know if there's another Star Trek Continues coming soon or anything like that. Yeah. But unless there's another thing to review, we will probably do another one of these. It would also be fun at some point for us to sit down and talk about a specific episode with you, because we've never done that. So we'll probably do that down the road as well. And in the meantime, thanks a lot for watching. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam.
I'll see you later.